So that's the only microphone. I'm sure it's not like you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
For people here, that's the microphone for the. Good evening, everyone. This was probably for a basketball player. I put it back. I'd like to welcome everyone and call to order the annual TBA Congregational meeting on May 18th, 2022. Welcome to everyone, both in the room and on Zoom. Feel free on Zoom to leave comments in the chat if you need to get a hold of anybody. With that, I guess I'll kick it off with our vision. Our Temple B'rith family is a dynamic Reformed Jewish congregation. We are a welcoming, friendly home where Jews and their families inspire each other to express our Jewish identity and connect with one another, our community, and with God. Our mission, Torah, teach, instill, and live Jewish values among our members and our community. B, Brit, build connections and partnerships among our members and with our community and our world. A, Avodah, advance spirituality through worship, prayer, and Torah. With that, I'd like to call on Rabbi. Rabbi, you could do that later. How about we do the song? Want to do the song? John, what? No, he made my code.
שבראחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבראחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבראחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבראחים גם how sweet it is to be together on this stage. to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. 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 Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum.
All right. One more time. Shut. Encore before we even begin. So we are at the end of the book of Leviticus this week. We and Israel are in the very last portion of Leviticus. Many congregations outside of Israel are in the next to the last portion of Leviticus, but either way, we're at the end of the book, and we're talking about specifically the land of Israel, the actual land. Bahar and Bechukotai are two portions that, when there's no leap year and we have fewer weeks in the year, but still the same number of Torah portions. Okay, so where should I face this way? I'll look at Jessica. Oh,
That's why.
I'm too close. I'm sorry. So, okay. Forgive my back. Where should I? I'm going to look this way. Okay. I'm looking at Jessica and Wendy. All right. So, so the Bahar and Bechukotai are the two portions that two portions that get paired up when we have a year that's not a leap year. We have fewer weeks, but we still have the same number of Torah portions. So we don't just ignore them. There's certain pairs that are predetermined to be paired up. Bahar and Bechukotai are make up one of those pairs. One of the things that happens in Bahar at the beginning of the portion, we're talking about ways that we're supposed to treat the land. Redeem the land gets redeemed, the Jubilee year, which led to our recognition of this our own 50th year, our own Jubilee year. At the end of the Jubilee period, land ownership returns to its original owners, giving us this kind of, this illusion that the land really belongs to us. But actually, if we read further on in Bechukotai, we're taught that the land really belongs to God. And in fact, there's a quote from Leviticus chapter 25, verse 23. "For the land is mine, says God. You are but strangers resident with me." And so we have this whole kind of set of verses that reminds us to restore land to its rightful owner, meaning the human. And at the same time, we're told, you silly humans, the land doesn't belong to you. It really belongs to God. And so there's this duality. It's not that neither one of them is right, but they're both right. And they're both important to remember that the land ultimately belongs to God. It's not ours. We're human beings. So we can't own something that lasts long after we're gone. But we have an obligation to kind of be in a position of playing the owner, as it were, and caring for it and nurturing it and not overworking it. And so we are taught about this sabbatical year, the Shemitah year, the Jubilee year, making sure that we're recognizing our obligation to give the land a rest, just like we give ourselves a rest, our servants, our animals, all that kind of stuff. So there's this duality, just an important thing to consider. We want to make sure that we care for the land, the people, the community, the congregation. It's ultimately not ours, but we have an obligation to kind of because people have come before us and people will come after us, right? That's recognizing the past and the future, but we have this obligation to be present in the moment to make sure that it's being cared for in the best way possible. And so thank you to all of you, members of the congregation who do just that, care for each other, care for our congregation, and care for the very existence of our community. And so with that. So let's all share this blessing together, the way we start out all of our board meetings, our management team meetings, all the meetings where we are concerning ourselves with the affairs of the community. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'tzorchei tzibor. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who commands us to be engaged in the affairs of the community.
Thank you, Rabbi. Ann, front and center. You can't, come on, don't play the game. Come on up. Ann's modest, so I'll take care of this for her. So, as many of you know, hopefully, one of the things we do at our annual meeting is recognize those who have done so much for the community. And today we're very fortunate to recognize two people with Congregational Service Awards, one of whom is Ann. Thank you for joining us, Ann. As many of you know, probably almost everybody here, Ann leads our care and community team. And the reason I say probably everyone knows, because of all the things they do. When there's an event in life that is difficult, Ann and her team are there, providing meals, visiting, working on Shiva. As a matter of fact, when Rabbi is at a conference or on vacation or something, Ann is the person who is contacted and has that responsibility. With friendship teams and buddy systems, support groups, transportation, cooking when anyone needs it, if they're ill, if they're otherwise needing help, any kind of help. And I know it myself, because if I hear about somebody who is in need, I immediately contact Ann, and what I'm told is I've taken care of that already. The food's been delivered. I've been in touch with this person. It's really amazing. And she's a leader, so she has a lot of teammates who assist, but the leader is the one ultimately responsible and has done so much for so many. So it's really my pleasure today on behalf of the entire congregation to present Ann with this certificate of service. You want to reclaim it, Ann, or no? Okay. Thank you again, Ann. The second, I said we're going to do two awards, and actually, there he is, right on time. I didn't think he was here, but he's amazed me with his timing. That's part of the reason he's getting this award. The other Congregational Service Award is from my friend Josh Saragovi. Again, probably everyone in here and the people on Zoom and everyone else knows what Josh has done, because some people think as leading the membership team that what he does is try and recruit members, and he does. But he also reaches out to our current membership and does a lot of the best events that we have. I know I was at the Hanukkah party and the adult Purim party, and they were great events. And there was so much planning and work involved in it. And again, he didn't do it himself. He's not crazy. He's just dedicated. So he's got a great team that just as Ann does. But again, a team needs a leader, and he's been that leader, and also not a leader afraid to put the shoulder into it. I can remember at those parties, both Josh and actually his bride Norma as well, running around, making sure the food was out, making sure everything was cleaned up. Just did an amazing job, keeping in touch with everyone, working on prospects. We've had a great year, relatively speaking. Everything is relative. We've brought in around 13 families this year, which is terrific, just in general, but also in the very difficult environment we live in. So with that, I'd also like to present the Congregational Service Award to Josh Saragovi for his amazing service. You don't want to complain either? You and Ann? Neither one of you, okay. And then I'd also like to present Josh, wait a second, to give to his daughter, her certificate of bat mitzvah. Congratulations and mazel tov. So thank you so much. Thank you, Ann, and thanks, everybody. Before we get to Cheryl, another point of personal privilege. I generally, at events like this, say must be present to win. So if Josh or Ann wasn't here, I'd say tough one. But I'll make an exception this evening. Carol Kirshner and Julie Stern Delfiner are both retiring from our board. Both have served with distinction on the board, doing so much, keeping me straight, which is more than a full-time job. And so I'd like to thank them and present them with their service awards in absentia. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm here tonight as your immediate past president and chair of our nominating committee. And I'd like to present to you the slate of officers and our leadership slate for next year. Do you have that slate for people to see, or just like me to read that? There we go. So your slate for leadership: President Steve Kantrowitz, First Vice President Rob Bernstein, Second Vice President Faye Conquest, Treasurer Greg Stein, Secretary Jessica McBrearty. We have 4 at-large trustees: Harris Norton, Elena Werner, Lisa Friedman, and Rhonda Cohen. And we have our House leadership positions, all but one are filled for this year. Wendy Joseph as head of TBA management, Steve Koffs as leader of the House of Community, Corrine Hartwick, leader of the House of Worship, and Adrian Kerbel, leader of the House of Administration. The position of leader of the House of Lifelong Jewish Learning is still unfilled at this time, and we are very excited to talk to you about that position if you would like to know more about it and how you can help us at TBA by filling this position and working with our wonderful lifelong learning part of our community. Do want to mention that our treasurer, Greg Stein, is now serving his 8th year. As you know, per our bylaws, you may serve 6 years in one position before you need to rotate off that position and gratefully can take another position. But we do have a provision in our bylaws that the board can vote to allow someone to exceed that limit. And that was done by the board on the March 12th meeting of the bylaws, which is why we are presenting Greg Stein as treasurer for another year. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a slide presentation, but it's very similar to the ones we had in the past.
What's that? Boxes with lots of numbers. So again, we start with our process, which we've talked about before. First, we have our house leaders that meet. They propose their operating budgets to us. This happens in January. They propose the budgets to the house leaders, and then the house leaders then provide it to us. We then take those numbers, consolidate it, and then obviously come up with, those are their wish lists, if you would. And then obviously we have to be prudent, and our budget must balance every year. And we consolidate it. We go back to the house leaders. There are certain expenses that are fixed, as you could imagine. Can't cut our mortgage payments just because it doesn't fit into the budget. Insurance costs, things like that. So anything that is fungible, if you would, or can be contracted, then we go back to the house leaders and explain to them that we need you to cut your budgets by X%, or what about this line item? Can we make some adjustments here or there? And then that's it. Then we do line item by line item, and then ultimately come to a final budget that balances. Our next slide shows our unfortunate pattern, which is our membership. The truth is, in 2022, we actually have 2001 members. At the time that I did this, it was 196, 201. Sorry, did I say something else? Yeah, so we have 201. Okay, sorry. So we actually have 201. So we really are actually about the same as we were last year. The reason is because I was going off of our people who have turned in their commitment lists, their house of their what do you call it, the annual commitments, their renewals. And I was going off of that list, and apparently there's 5 people that are members that just never turned them in, that are contributing to the congregation. So we are off by 5 families there. So we are still hovering above the 200 mark. So then our next slide is basically the budget broken down in large groups. The membership commitment is the largest, which is the gift of heart. The Maccabee, this is the next slide. And then our Maccabees, our gift of heart, as I said. And then we have our ways and means, which is events, yurt site, ritual, incomes, items. Our school is pretty self-explanatory. And then our building fund. Every new member must commit to a building fund, which is sponsored by the URJ. That it actually is a requirement that they have, that everybody should commit to. The Union of Reform Judaism, at one or another synagogue. And then we have an uncollectible contingency. Those who make commitments and unfortunately cannot keep up with them. So then our next slide is how we distribute our expenses. School, our main expenses there are the faculty. Our administrative expenses, mortgage, insurance, our URJ, our commitment to the URJ, facilities, pretty self-explanatory as well. Utilities, our custodian, our ground maintenance and our indoor maintenance. Programs is again like yurt site items. Our office expense is mostly our staff, as well as our technology, as well as our telecommunications expenses. And then, of course, our professional staff, which is our largest line item in our budget. And then the last slide just shows, our 2020 to 2021 actual. We had a $15,000 surplus that we would would have not achieved had we not frankly received that PPP loan that was offered by the government. Our first one was forgiven. Our second one sits at the SBA right now, waiting for their decision on what we expect it to be fully forgiven. I mean, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, although I don't want to say that without actually getting that letter in the mail. Again, this is our 2021, 2022 forecast. We're forecasting right now a $13,000 shortfall in our budget to actual. Again, history tells me that's actually not too bad. And again, considering the 2 years we've just come off of, that's actually a fairly good. And the fact that this year, no PPP loan surprise. So we were able to keep our, while our revenues are off forecast a bit, we were able to keep our costs under control. And again, the budget from last year, the proposed budget this year, these are, broken down by the various segments. At the end of every year, again, when we have a budget surplus or budget shortfall, we then basically vote and on how to distribute it. Generally, we put it into our reserve funds, which currently sit at $121,000. So we've used that in the past to, for example, fund the parking lot. One of the 15 HVAC units that went down. I don't know, it's not that many, but we like I say, they all went down in the same year, it felt like. And I think that some of our reserve funds were used for that. So at the end of the day, the idea is to keep that going, keep that healthy, so that when unforeseen events occur, we can then afford to cover them. That's about it. Obviously I have details of all the line items if anybody wants to get into more detail. But at this point, are there any questions? Online? What's that? That's Steve. We have, yes, our Pennsylvania grants and, so Steve's on. Okay.
Thanks, Greg, and to your team and you, amazing job. I know this is 8 years, not easy. Someday you'll get it right and you can retire. Really tremendous job with shepherding us in very, very difficult times. Speaking of which, just very briefly, as you know, we've been very fortunate. Have gotten several grants in the past couple of years. Pleased to advise that in the last month, we got another grant from the Pennsylvania Crime Commission for additional security that Pete and his great facilities team are going to put in lighting in the immediate front. That's going to be both solar powered, so it's not going to be a continuing drain, if you will, on our budget, and LED. So it's also environmentally friendly, all of that. So that's going to come in and fortunately be funded by this grant. And also we are going to replace the steel doors, not the glass ones, but the ones in the kitchen and the basement, and all of that, because A, we need to do it, and B, it's also a security item. So it's going to help us with our budget. Loans, Greg has already told you that we fully expect that with his team putting in the right paperwork, we're going to get the PPP loan forgiven, the second one, so that'll clear us up. Donations, I'm just going to continually say we need them, and don't feel obligated necessarily to do it, although that would be nice. But get from your friends, neighbors. We'll take it from other people also, and appreciate what you've done and what you will do in the future. So thank you.
So this is the last call for voting for our budget to adopt the budget and the slate. So if you need a ballot. Oh.
We just wanted to highlight some of the things that are, again, of interest. As you know, we did put out an email, and here we are. We have resumed in-person events, and we're doing it just as we said we would, which is if you're comfortable not being masked, feel free. If you're comfortable being masked, feel free. And so I think it's working out. What we're hoping to do, though, is there is, I think, an advantage, Rabbi and others, I think, have said it eloquently, to being together. And that is something we want to do. And we hope that the pandemic will permit that, because it is a different way of being together, both socially and spiritually, when we're in worship. So we're hoping to do that, but we understand that the world has changed, and it's not practical or smart to say, well, if you don't come, then you're not here, I guess. We want to do it because it's something that the community wants and the community needs. There are people who undoubtedly, whether it's this pandemic or they have some other illness, don't feel comfortable coming either because they may be putting themselves or family members at risk, or that they feel they're putting others at risk, that even if it's nothing to do with COVID, that they're feeling ill, they don't want to do it. So we want to accommodate those people. The reality also is, in the busy, crazy world we live in, there are times when someone isn't going to come in person, regardless of if we say it's only in person, you can't join us online or via Zoom, streaming, whatever. And we want to welcome those people. We understand that some people will take advantage of it, could otherwise have come maybe, but that's something that we feel is the right approach. It's a discussion item, so I don't know if people feel comfortable discussing it now, or people on the Zoom boxes want to, but that's not required. I know this is not perhaps the most comfortable venue to discuss, but I want to invite everybody. The leadership wants to invite everybody if they want to comment, but we feel that this is a good approach, and really the only approach today. Gift of the heart. I told you I was going to keep talking about this until Greg didn't have a budget deficit. So here it is again. I just want to encourage everyone to do what they can. That this is not just a service. When you say gift of the heart, that what do I get out of it? My kids can go to school, or I can be here for the high holy days. It's tzedakah. It's a way to support right now the Jewish community here, which, by the way, this is the Jewish community here. For example, the Jewish Federation doesn't have a King of Prussia area or Western Montgomery County or anything like that. We are in the Chester County region because we are the only game in town. There's no other synagogue, not Reform or Orthodox conservative. There's no community centers. There's no nothing here. So it's important now, and it's also important. Too close, too far?
Yeah,
All right, sorry. All right,
don't get too close.
okay. How's that? Can you hear me? I'm sorry that you can. But it's also important for the years to come. I'll get it, Mark. See, I have a director here, and that's a good thing. So we want to be here. We're going to talk a little bit later about the 50th. We want to be here another 50. And to do that, we need your generosity and you to be ambassadors to get that. So that's gift of the heart. The other thing is, everyone here saw me give Josh and Ann those certificates. You didn't see them close up, but I can assure you they're suitable for framing. You too can get a certificate like that if you do a great job with gift of the hand. I'd encourage all of you, whether you're sitting here, whether you're on the Zoom, whether you're watching this late at night with popcorn some other time, to consider it. It is rewarding. I can tell you this, for the first, I don't know, 30-something years, I was a member here. I never did anything other than drive my kids to school, write a check. See, I did do gift of the heart, and sometimes show up for services. And for the last few years, I've been doing this, and I can tell you this, it has been at times difficult, at times frustrating, but always rewarding. So I would encourage everyone. Thank you. There's got to be a better one. I'm going to also kick off, I feel like wash the dishes soon too. Next slide. Just talk about a couple of things that are in progress, and then I'm going to turn it over to Wendy Joseph and the management team, who have done such a magnificent job. As I said, sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's difficult, but it's doable and bearable because of Wendy and her team, because they do just an incredible job. So thank you to them. Security, you've probably seen, I mean, over the last 2 to 3 years, we've done a lot of different things. Again, we mentioned the grants. Some of it makes life a little bit more complicated. You can't just pop right through the door. You need to use your fob. But unfortunately, the world we live in, we see it every day now, unfortunately, that we must do these things, and everyone must be cognizant of it. We had a couple of really excellent folks come in from Montgomery County. I know some of the people in the room were in the room for that as well, to give us some security training. A lot of people didn't see it. I would encourage you, it is recorded. And so, all right, Mark's got it up on the YouTube site. So to do that, because part of it is you being our eyes and ears. So we've done a lot. We're going to continue to do things. It is critically important. We appreciate that times it, again, makes it inconvenient, but we need to do it. 50th anniversary, all I'm going to say is it's the 50th anniversary. We are very, very fortunate. We have our team here to talk about it. And they're going to, when is that now, Jessica? Okay, so give me 1 second, because I'm going to transition so I don't have to pop up again. It's interfered with my sleep. And so I'm going to get back 1 second to the 50th, but non-membership funding, I know a lot of you also in this room and on Zoom were contributors to the great effort that TBA put out to try and convince the township to allow us to put up a billboard, which would have been a huge game changer funding wise. It didn't happen, but I think it was people told me this, that it made them feel good, though, that they were there supporting it, that we did a good job presenting, that a lot of people in the township were moved by it, although not the zoning hearing board, unfortunately. But we're going to continue doing things like that. If you have any ideas, suggestions, I've already tried. We almost leased the parking lot until COVID hit, and that, of course, is a game changer on leasing parking lots around here. But if you have any suggestions, ideas, feel free. If you have any contacts, the school is largely vacant during the week. There are lots of things. We'd love to hear from you if you have any ideas. Then back to the 50th. Again, some of this stuff is aggravating and all of that. But one thing that's not aggravating for me is the 50th, because we have an incredible team led by Susie Schultz and Jan Biros, who have already done such a fabulous job and have so many great plans that are coming up. So rather than me try and not try, but end up screwing it up, I'd rather than just turn it over to Susie and Jan. And thank you so much for all you've done and all you were doing. Yeah, we withdrew it so that we could go back and, at any time, basically. We knew we were going to lose. So, there was no sense in doing that. So, we could file again. The company we've been dealing with, that's their intent, is to try and, politically, get some more support, community support, lobbying, whatever you want to call it. So that is their intent. We haven't given up on it, but we also have some other related ideas that we're exploring as to how to make it work, because we feel that it has, again, sensitized the Board of Supervisors that, hey, this is an important institution. And the reality is, through no fault of our own, it's difficult times. I mean, Greg said, every year we lose some money. And I think they understand that. I think they also understand Susie was there with me when we met with several of the supervisors, and we said to them, there are no gold ornaments in here and everything. And they said, no, we've been in the building. We know that. And so I think there is that appreciation, and that, it is possible that we are going to get some relief that would permit us to do something to get what I call non-membership funding. Thanks. And without further ado, Susie and Jan.
It's hard to believe that we're almost halfway through our wonderful 50th anniversary Jubilee year. According to Leviticus, you shall make the 50th year holy and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee to you, and each of you shall return to his own property, and each of you shall return to his family. After a long period of isolation due to COVID, this year of activities allowed us to return to our temple family and celebrate together. It has been a time to enjoy each other's company, share joyful and meaningful experiences, and reflect on the importance of our Jewish faith, home, and family. We organized our activities around the values that we hold dear and that serve as the pillars of our faith and our congregation. In January, we celebrated Tikkun Olam with the acts of service on Martin Luther King Day. We collected handmade blankets and Afghans for children in need and who are ill. And we both collected food and made monetary donations to the local food bank. In February, we celebrated community and connections and the importance of joy and laughter after our long isolation by sharing an online variety show. What fun that was. We marveled at the clever tricks of our magician, enjoyed rousing renditions of traditional klezmer favorites with talented members of our congregation, watched friends participate in a funny game show take off, and just hung out together. In March, we remembered our history, ritual, and customs and celebrated Purim with a wonderful masquerade party that was lots of fun and reminded us of the many ancient stories in our rich heritage. We continued to practice and celebrate Tikkun Olam in April with a windy, cold walk in the Keg Nature Center. We fought against hunger one step at a time, got some good exercise, and collected lots of food and donations. In April, we also celebrated community and saw the influence TBA had on one of our young members as we enjoyed the songs with Sarah Duchovny. What a treat to immerse ourselves in the great operatic talents of both Sarah and her husband, and to hear her speak so sincerely about how important Rith Akim was to her and how it influenced her as she grew. Our most recent event was last Sunday, as we celebrated ritual and Torah, both in person and virtually, with our scholar in residence, Rabbi Neil Gold, who spoke to us about the Israeli Constitution. Our goal this year was to provide lots of opportunities to share camaraderie, laughter, and of course, food, and make those opportunities as accessible as possible to everyone. Thanks to the generosity of those organizing and planning these activities and the generous support of others who subsidize them through sponsorships, we had no out-of-pocket cost to TBA and even raised funds to invest in future activities. But the year is not over by any means, and Susie will give you an idea of what great happenings are in store for us for the rest of the Jubilee year. Thank you all for your help, support, and involvement in making this year so much fun and such a success.
Thank you. So you're probably thinking, how can the second half of the year be as exciting as the first 5 months have been? Well, if you've never been part of a bluegrass, or as it's affectionately known, Jewgrass Shabbat service, then you're in for a real treat. On Friday, June 17th, we will have a bluegrass Shabbat evening service led by Kol Kahol, a Jewish bluegrass band of graduates of the prestigious Berklee School of Music. They will be leading our worship service and performing liturgical music with a bluegrass flair. If you are able, please consider attending the service in person. It will be a wonderful experience not to be missed. Of course, services will also be live streamed. A picnic dinner of fried chicken, coleslaw, and other surprises will precede the service. On Tuesday, July 19th, from 6 to 9 p.m., we will have a tour and beer tasting at Workhorse Brewing Company in King of Prussia. After a tour of the brewery, we will be able to sample a flight of beers. Cider and wine are also available, and snacks. The Temple Jazz Ensemble will perform on September 10th with details to follow. On October 16th, we will celebrate a day of Jewish learning. This will occur during Simchat Torah, and there will be learning opportunities for all of us, regardless of ages. The weekend of November 4th to the 6th, Kol B'Seder, performers of Jewish liturgical folk music, will lead us in a worship service. There will be a community concert on Saturday evening and a program for the religious school on Sunday. The Jubilee year of celebrations will conclude on December 16th at our capstone service. The choir, a full orchestra, and a catered dinner prior to the service will be part of the evening. Also, there is an opportunity, I know Steve Hirsch will appreciate this. There will be an opportunity for you to share a special memory or thought about TBA. Write a paragraph or two, include a photo if you have one, send it to the Temple office, attention Steve and Mark Hager, and we will try to share some of those during the service. If you would like to help underwrite any of these exciting events, please consider becoming a sponsor. We would appreciate a minimum donation of $150, but welcome donations of any amount. Our goal during the year has been to celebrate our 50th anniversary as a community, but to remain a Jewish presence in the area, to maintain our physical structure, sustain ourselves, continue to improve our educational and spiritual missions, and grow our membership in the future. We will need your help. Our fundraising efforts will continue during the year and following the capstone service in December through next year. With your help and commitment, we can look forward to celebrating memorable experiences together for years to come.
Thank you, Dan and Susie, for that overview. So far, everything has been outstanding, and I think we're all looking forward to the remaining events for the rest of the year. So I would like to kick off the management team part of the presentation. I believe some, if not all, are either present or online, and we will go through house by house and talk about things that are happening. So basically, as Steve and others have mentioned, not much would happen around here without our volunteers. So I would like to take this time to acknowledge and thank and also recruit more volunteers for helping us do what we do to make this the community that we have and we continue to be, and hopefully for at least another 50 years to come. So when you get your mailer shortly after this meeting and your gift of the hand form comes out, think about it. Maybe check off some boxes that you've never checked off before. Participate in something that you never did before, and see where it leads. So we'll start with sisterhood, and I will gladly present for sisterhood. Marcy and Lori Miklas could not be here. Things, overall in general, I think we kind of had a mixed bag year as far as things being in person and online and everyone's comfort level. But, as we are in this crazy time, everybody's doing the best that they can and as they feel comfortable. Sisterhood started the year with their opening brunch, outdoor brown bag brunch. And I think the theme of the brunch was the Happiness Prayer, book by Rabbi Evan Moffat. And I know that this was such a powerful book that it kind of became the theme for the year, and it was continued with other programming, and it was a major part of the Sisterhood Shabbat in March. And I will tell you, it was one of the most moving services that I have ever attended. So I thank you for sharing this book with our community. Sisterhood did some fundraising activities, including the first time a bulb fundraiser, and also Mishloach Manot, which is the major fundraiser for Sisterhood for the year. And glad to see that has been able to return. And also, because of the fundraising of Mishloach Manot and other things, Sisterhood gave a generous donation that covered the entire cost, which was exceeding $5,000, for replacing the heat exchanger in the school wing, because we went several weeks without any heat in the lobby and school office area. And some other things Sisterhood did, they had another turkey drive this year. Prior to Thanksgiving, there was Hanukkah gift show and Hanukkah Zoom bingo. And upcoming, there is a visit to the Chanticleer Gardens in Wayne on June 12th. I think they're taking RSVPs right now. So if you're interested, reach out. And, there's Sisterhood year in review. Next slide, please. Gaylord, if you're here, would you like to present? I think he's here.
I'm here.
Thank you.
All right, the Men's Club had a pretty good year. We began by assisting the school by building and taking down our sukkah. And we also served on several of the town hall meetings held in the fall. We were represented on the task force to study the mask and vaccination policies and procedures to reopen the temple. We donated and cooked latkes for the Hanukkah happening in December. We held the Men's Club Shabbat service in February 25th, led by Steve Koffs, with many members of the Men's Club participating in the service. We also helped with the Purim Carnival this year by selling food and drinks on March 13th in 2022. We donated monies and purchased a commercial grade ice maker to replace the broken one in the TBA kitchen. This one is to be used for TBA functions for the entire congregation. And lastly, we're capping off our year with a celebration of dinner and friendship at Tiramisu Restaurant this coming Saturday, May 21st, 2022. If anyone's interested in joining us, we're still taking reservations. You can contact myself or Bruce Broser. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaylord, and thank you to all of the members of the Men's Club for donating and paying for the ice maker. Again, we would really, we are so grateful to our auxiliaries for stepping in when we encounter some unplanned expenditures. We wouldn't know what to do without you. And I know Sharon is not here. I believe Dan Krosky is going to report on the school on Sharon's behalf. And then Rhonda will also report on adult ed.
Thank you, Wendy. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So I'm doing this on behalf of Sharon Formental, who's off enjoying the graduation from medical school of Dr. Brandon Toll, MD. I'm already booking an appointment, so make sure you guys do that as well. And I also really want to thank Sharon, the faculty, Rabbi Lazar, and also my fellow members of the school advisory team for all the work they put in this year. The school isn't going to happen without particularly the Sharon and the faculty's efforts. So in terms of the upcoming year, so we had a really very successful year. We were able to reintegrate and go back to in-person school. We have 78 students. So that was a very, very exciting time. So as we prepare for next year, we're going to try to build on that success. We've had several faculty members retire, and we're going to be hiring, and the search has started for new faculty members. We're going to be, as we now continue to bring students back to, in person, we're going to be bringing back their families as well. So we're looking to reinstitute the family education programming, as well as reinstituting field trips. And then in terms of the curriculum, Sharon's always, kind of adjusting the curriculum as new information comes in, as we're adjusting to students. So this year we were very focused on just kind of getting everybody back and feeling safe and nurturing them. So as we continue to come back, we're going to address a couple of things. So one is to address the gaps and kind of the overlapping aspects of having combined classes. We're going to be emphasizing Jewish values and decision-making in our curriculum, as well as enhancing our project-based learning. And then, of course, as always, we're going to be responding and nurturing to our children's social, emotional, and mental health needs as we continue to navigate this difficult time. That's that.
Thank you, Dan. Oh, next one. No.
I got one more. All right. So I did talk something about that. We did have 78 children enrolled in the school. We did, the big thing really this year was that all Sunday classes were held in person, and that was really wonderful. We did have masks all year and other preventative measures, and really allowed us to remain in person and learn in a safe environment. And as I mentioned earlier, we really did emphasize, rebuilding our community between the students and also between the students and the teachers. And, there was a lot of joy in the building, right? For people to be back and to make those contacts again. We did celebrate Hanukkah and Purim and Passover, and then, with an end of the year school-wide programming. The faculty, again, to kind of help navigate these students through these very difficult times, we're very attuned to their emotional needs and really try to create this very nurturing environment. And the parents also, I should thank the parents in the beginning also, they were really very flexible and supportive and cooperative, with all of the changes that have gone over the last 2 years. And I think one thing I would like to mention is sometimes a good thing can come out of a challenge. One of the things that we discovered during the pandemic is that the online Hebrew options were actually very, very effective in not only giving our students some, one-on-one mentoring in Hebrew, and we've actually kept it, and it's actually also allowed us to really kind of get the learning that they need in Hebrew, and kind of schedule it around everybody's very busy schedule. So that's actually been something that we've kept, even though we return to in person on Sundays for religious school. All right, well, thank you very much.
So first I want to say we have a very enthusiastic and talented adult ed team, and many of the programs that we have were led by members of the team. So, if you have interest in teaching a class or sharing your ideas or anything with adult ed, you can let me know, adulted@brithachim.org. So this year we had a beginning Hebrew class. We had an Israel photographic travelogue, we had Hebrew calligraphy, challah baking. Of course, some of these were in person, and like it's hard to do challah baking remotely, but that's and it was delicious. We had Black writers and activists. It was a 3 weeks, 3-night series. And this past Sunday, we had Rabbi Neil Gold, and we talked about Israel's Declaration of Independence. So, and I've gotten really good feedback about him, and I've been asked to see if we could bring him back again. Maybe we can. One thing I forgot to list, we had Rabbi Dr. Zev Elef, the new president of Gratz College, and he was here talking about anti-Semitism. So he was here in person. And of course, Real Nights, I don't even know how many years it's been, but they were finally able to finish up the program that was supposed to finish up the spring of 2020. So they'll be putting together a new list. So if you have any ideas for movies that you know about, you can let me know. You can let Mark know that we have a Real Nights team that pick some really interesting, good movies. I think the next month is The Syrian Bride. So, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda. And again, I think it's important to emphasize that out of the challenges of the pandemic, we found some things that really were helpful, at least in the education department. I think that there was a great increase in participation in the adult ed program, some of the weeknight programs. And all of them were excellent. I attended several myself, and I was, incredibly happy that I did. And again, I think that, we found that online Hebrew is much more effective and works better for the students. So, there are some good things that come out of challenging times. So now I'd like to ask Steve Koffs to come up and give us an overview from the House of Community.
So House of Community, we had a really easy year this year because we had 3 great committee chairs doing all these things. Membership with Josh Saragovi, Care and Community led by Ann Greenstein, and Social Action by Mrs. K. So, Josh, would you like to say a few syllables about membership?
The focus of the year has been to increase engagement as well as reach out to new members or prospective members. So most of our activities were with that in mind, either attracting young families. We're generally who our newest members are, or social events where people can interact and have fun. And any opportunity to have a couple drinks and sing Push It by Salt and Pepper during karaoke is also was an objective for me. You wanna-
Yeah. Oh.
Well, whatever,
Sure.
whatever.
Okay, so this is a quick summary of some of the things that Josh and his team put together this year. And again, membership has a few different hats. So one of them, every time somebody makes a call or an email to the office, then Josh or somebody on his team is on the phone to them and talking up the great things about the temple and all of the wonderful financial particulars that that they're always asking about. In addition, we don't break out membership retention from new members. So it's one membership committee working on all those things. So membership team also called, or if they didn't answer their phone, emailed every family in the congregation. And there were 2 Havdalah bonfire events this year. And those were of particular interest to members with younger families. But I think the recent one a few weeks ago, there were like 30, 35 people. So it was a lot of fun. It was a good chance for people to meet outdoors. The Hanukkah party was a big success, and we had a concert by our own TBA band. The adult Purim party, as Josh said, karaoke was a big success. And next year, if we do that again, I hope to see you all singing. So I won't be alone in self-mortification. And just this past week, we had a milestone member Shabbat dinner and service honoring many of our longtime and newer members. And that's always a treat and an opportunity to remind ourselves of how lucky we are to have you all. So please think about participating in any of those things that float your boat. Please reach out to Josh if you have an interest in bringing a new social program to the temple, or have an idea for an event, or would like to attend or help plan any of those. And care and community, Steve talked earlier about Ann. What a wonderful job she's done. And would you like to say anything now that you've had a few moments to think about? No. Okay, well, Ann has the biggest team, and maybe that's because they do the most, but there's so many ways that they have reached out to members of the congregation and helped them, whether it's getting a ride for somebody, creating a support group, bringing meals, all visiting, reading, all of those things, and cooking. So thanks again to the whole team for that. And if you yourself or someone in your family is ill, and you would like some help, or if you know of someone in our congregation that needs help, and would not object to being referred, please contact Ann or Ann, Cindy, and the rabbi. Doesn't hurt to get everybody in the loop, so everybody's on the same page. And we'll continue to see great work from that team. And social action, continuing to do things in it, both in our local community and of more national interest. So he did turkey collection for the second year. collected a great deal. I think it was over 500 pounds of food for Upper Marion area community cupboard, and which people may be surprised to know, but over 100 families every week come to the community cupboard in Upper Marion for help. And that it's not just people who are not working. There are many what we would call the working poor, and it's a great organization that's really helping our community, and Social Action is helping them. Mentioned collected blankets for Project Linus, and Jan talked about the nature walk. Social Action also did a program on redistricting and getting the information out to our community about what redistricting is and what the major issues were in Pennsylvania. And yeah. And we now have a plot in the Upper Marion's community garden. So it's near the Lutheran church on that hillside there. So they're going to plant tomorrow. Yeah. And if you're interested in that, or you have a green thumb, please reach out to Bob Hartwig. Or yeah, well, yeah, it's good. And whatever's grown from there is going to get distributed to the families of the Upper Marion area community cupboard. So it's a great thing, and it doesn't cost money, and you can get sunshine. So, but again, if you would like to help in, and I forgot to mention Ann's team, helping other members within the temple, or Kathy's team in social action areas, please reach out to one of them or me, and we'll be happy to get back with you. Thank you.
Okay. While we did not get the back to normal year that we all hoped for, the fiscal year 2021-22 was replete with amazing and thoughtful worship experiences. It was and is our goal to bring our congregants to physically return to the TBA building. While we continue to create a safe and welcoming environment, we also are striving to continue serving those congregants who are not comfortable returning in person. And we pray for the day when all will feel comfortable being together in our sanctuary. I would like to thank all the volunteers that contribute time and effort to make our services and celebrations run smoothly. I would especially like to thank Mark Hager, leader of our worship team, Steve Hirsch, team leader for the choir, and Miriam Schmidt, ONEG team leader. All right, we'll go through those little areas. The worship team, under the able leadership of Mark Hager, has responsibility for planning and coordinating all our worship experiences, from high holidays to Shabbat and everything in between, above and below. There is an enormous amount of planning and logistics that are involved in planning any service, and especially for the high holidays. While we are hoping to hold in-person, While we were hoping to hold in-person high holiday services this year, the COVID-19 surge once again forced us to gather on Zoom. It's amazing how quickly Rabbi Lazar, Cantor Malin, and the worship and choir teams were able to regroup and bring forth a wonderful set of high holiday services. In addition, as you can see, Mark has taken on the extra responsibility of being the technical guru for Zoom and live stream services and other functions that aren't services. Okay, thanks again, Mark. Looking to the future, we're hoping to look into having a cantor, cantorial soloist, or song leader more regularly at services, perhaps looking into a cantorial intern from HUC, the Hebrew Union College. If you're interested in being part of the exploratory committee, please let me know. Also, this year, we are hoping, and we will be, replacing our Gates of Repentance High Holiday Prayer books with the newer Mishkan HaNefesh. I would like to call on Rhonda Hager, who is taking care of sequestering all those books, to say a few words about how you can be part of making that happen.
Okay. Where's the camera? Right there. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And you're probably somewhat familiar with Mishkan HaNefesh because we've been using a draft version of it for Yom Kippur afternoon, but we're going to switch entirely to these books for this year. They're really quite beautiful books. And we have a very generous congregant family that will match donations that are made. So we're asking you to make a $54 donation for a set of books. And then the congregant will match that and to purchase another set. We also need a few large print books and also rabbinic books. So I did bring this here if anybody wants to take a look at them. I hope you'll contribute. There's lots of ways you can do it. There's been something in the newsletter now for months and in the weekly email. You can always, if you have any questions, you can send to worship at brithakim.org and it'll get to me. You can donate through on the giving page and to the prayer book fund. I will make sure that it happens, but we would like everybody to have books this year for the holidays. There's also a small Havara that is not I don't know, in business, I don't know if that's the right word, that donated their 100 sets to us too. So that really was a good start. So, okay, there you go. Thank you.
I think you go online and order as many as you can physically possibly do. Okay. All right. Our next area is the choir. Steve and the members of the choir have been enriching our Shabbat and high holiday services for I don't know how many years. 33 years. Recently, they have led the congregation back to the sanctuary by singing in person once a month. So we hope other people will follow. Being together in one room adds so much to our worship. As you heard before, Steve is planning a very special service in December as a culmination to our TBA Jubilee year. He's busy composing new musical compositions which will be sung by the choir with orchestral accompaniment. Please put December 16th, 2023 on your calendar now. This will 22. Yeah, you have plenty of time, Steve. No, 22 on your calendar now. This will be a night to remember. Thank you, Steve. Oh, yes, and we do. Who do you sing? Even if you don't sing, do you enjoy singing? Think about joining the choir. We have places for voices of all kinds. And just notify Steve Hirsch or notify me if you don't know how to get in touch with Steve. Okay, good job. All right, for several years now, Miriam Schmidt has been doing a great job coordinating the calendar for the Oneg each Shabbat, as well as supporting Oneg sponsors and making arrangements for those dates when we are without a sponsor. This year, there was little in-person attendance, and so little organized Oneg activity was necessary. Miriam periodically checked the supply closet and made sure it was stocked. And Rhonda Hager and I made sure that there were challahs for motzi and there were goodies to eat after the services. Greater coordination, especially with bar bat mitzvah weeks, will be needed as in-person attendance increases. So if you're interested in helping, please let me know. There is one more team under the House of Worship that is currently semi-inactive, Touch Shabbat. Originally, its mission was to provide a Shabbat experience geared to the 5 and under age group with stories, crafts, and snacks. We are working with the membership committee to figure out whether we will continue with this model or determine what might be a more meaningful activity. If you would like to get together with others to figure this out, please let me know. Meanwhile, the House of Worship has and will continue to participate with the membership team to create various activities with a worship component for families with young children. In closing, I want to thank and especially thank Rabbi Lazar and everybody else who worked so hard to bring meaningful worship to our temple community. Thank you.
I would like to ask Adrian Kerbel to come up and talk about the House of Administration.
Hi, everybody. What? Go closer there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Adrian Kerbel. I'm the head of the House of Administration, and I have several wings under me. The first one is technology, which is so critical. I was happy to see Ira Shapiro here, who has been a key part of that. Technology is what keeps the live stream cameras up, at what keeps the office going. And the team, for example, the internet went out earlier this year, and on no notice, Ira and his team were able to remove a very, very old server and come up with a new solution. Instead of replacing the server, they went with a completely cloud-based solution. But the key there is it was all done in an emergency. And it's not like, Ira and the team have nothing else, Bruce Weintraub, it's not like they don't have other jobs to do. So when this happens as an emergency, it's an issue. So one of the biggest challenges facing the House of Administration for building and grounds and for technology is making sure we have the funds to be able to plan ahead. We have several items that we know that need attention. So that's what we've been focusing on putting together a roadmap and then working with getting grants and funding for those roadmaps. Yeah. That's fair. So a work in progress. The emergency part is complete. Technology. So the technology team is headed by Cheryl Carmel, and Ira and Bruce do a lot. And then so special shout out to them, and a huge shout out to Mark Hager. Mark, what you do in running the tech is such a mitzvah for us, and I know it comes at its own, like, you can't pray the same way when you're sitting in front of a screen. And so I just want to express my gratitude and acknowledgement for how much that's meant. And so that's technology. The office is also under my wing, and making sure Cindy does not report to me in any way, shape, or form, but I work. That would be more accurate. Without Cindy, I would be truly lost. She is the glue for everything regarding personnel, regarding making sure that the custodian is here and knows what he needs to do. Cheryl with the finances part of the office as well. And Lenore Kintish comes in and helps Cindy with tasks. So we really appreciate all of what they do, because it really keeps things operating more smoothly. And then under personnel, that's Cindy and Cheryl and Rabbi and Sharon, and Don Joseph has helped out with some personnel questions and history of how we handle things. And again, we wouldn't have our community without all of you. So thank you. Next slide, please. So finance and administration is under my wing, and we have Greg Stein here, who's a key part of that. And Jim Roberts is the other key part. And then the other team members are Joe Liebrick and Matt Shapiro and Rob Bernstein and Jeff Frank. But this is the mammoth job of creating our annual budget, which is an intensive effort that starts in January and culminates in March, April. But the other thing is the ongoing assistance to monitor the funds that are coming in and what needs to go out and how are we doing against the budget, and helping with future planning. So those are kind of the things that they take care of. Did I miss anything key? Great, thank you. And then communications and marketing, they have been working largely independently through the pandemic. Jean Kintish has been making sure that all of our activities get out on Facebook, and more than once I've been reminded of an activity that way. So I have found it personally very helpful. And Jeannie Simon is putting out the newsletter each week, and Ken is managing the website. And then Sharon and Stephanie have been in the wings supporting them as well. And we don't have any big efforts going on right now of changing things. We just are really making sure that we use the communication mechanisms effectively. And then Ways and Means, we do have the ongoing kitchen rental, but the big action on Ways and Means, really, the credit goes to the 50th anniversary committee. So I can't really take a whole lot of credit there. That's Susie Schultz and Jan Viros and everything that they're helming. So my hat's off to you on that. And building and grounds. So I have several people to give a shout out. Pete Walsh has done amazing work. He monitors all of the systems, the heating and the cooling and the roof, and just everything that's big in the building. So we do need new gutters, we do need a new roof, and he's planning on that. He's tall, but he's getting the vendors and the quotes. But he and his team have done a tremendous number of small things, like the sign outside was broken and they fixed the sign. They installed the ice maker. They fixed a bug infestation. They arranged for new lighting that's coming in the circle doors. So that's what? They're getting the windows ready. We had a security review and they implemented several of the activities. So the windows are part of that in the school wing, there should be windows that you could just push out easily. I had no idea that Bob Hartwig and Pete Walsh and Bill and Gaylord and Patrick, that they could do that on their own. But they're doing the test this weekend or this week, and they will do all of the installation on that. The amount of money that would cost us to outsource is unbelievable, and the amount of time that they put in is incredible. So that's on just the whole building itself. The other thing that's been happening all year is Patrick Sinel almost single-handedly has kept the Saladin Garden exquisite. We're bringing in a professional crew next year, but what he has done has just been just beautiful, and tonight it's in all of its glory. And then planning for Roosh. And the other thing that they did this year was they tweaked, because we do need sort of more of an overhaul on the HVAC, but in the meantime, they were able to tweak it so that Cindy is not roasting in the summer. So it's these like small, like he says, I need to spend $6,000. And I say, but I have $600. And he says, okay, this is what I can do for you for $600. So a debt of gratitude to the building and grounds team. And then the final person I want to shout out, Wendy is in theory ex officio, but she has been my right-hand person, and I could not have managed nearly as much without her. So thank you, Wendy.
Can I just say one last thing before? So, thank you to all of our presenters. And as you can see, it really takes a village to keep our community running. So thank you to all the volunteers. Thank you to our professional staff, Rabbi and Sharon. Thank you to Cindy, Cheryl, and Frank. And thank you to my partner in crime, Steve. I don't know how I would keep my sanity without you alongside. So again, there are a lot of little pieces that go into keeping us up and running so that we can be here to have these meetings, to have worship services, to have events on the Great Lawn, and to celebrate being here for 50 years. So let's keep up the good work, and let's make sure that more people continue to come and continue to participate. So thanks.
So a couple of days ago, a week or two ago, I was speaking with Jerry about some things, and Jerry is an amazing photographer. Some of you are familiar with his work. Anyone who's ever participated in a visual tefillah here in sanctuary or online is absolutely familiar with his work, even if you don't realize it, because most of the pictures we use are Jerry's pictures. And we always review the year with words and remind each other of things that have gone on. And I said to Jerry, you know what, can you put together something for to do here, like a photo montage year in review? And Jerry said, of course, that's what I do. So Jerry's going to introduce what he put together for us.
Thank you. And I really enjoyed the presentation from the leaders of the TBA houses, and have a very good idea of all the activities going on and how things are changing over the years, from strictly virtual attendance to opening up the in-person attendance. You know, we're in the hybrid stage right now, but things are changing. It's been a year of change. And the rabbi asked me to kind of put a visual on the year in review. And so I collected a few of my photographs, and there've been some photographs from Nikki Rifkin. She supplied some others. And it's about a 3-minute slideshow. There are 7 different events that occurred over the last year. The first one was strictly virtual. It was a lunch and learn session, and it was my presentation on an African safari. There was Crow Creek cleanup, which I participated in, organized by Kathy Koffs. It was a lot of fun, very successful. There's some Rosh Hashanah photographs from Nikki Rifkin, some Sukkot photographs, and one of Tyler Rifkin's bar mitzvah during that day. And then we have an in-person presentation during Hanukkah. This is about Hanukkah in Jerusalem, in the Naklaot neighborhood in Jerusalem. We were there several years ago and had some photographs about that. And then most recently, the Havdalah.
Not only were you were there on a TBA Israel trip. So Jerry went specifically to take some pictures during the trip, and those were part of his lunch and learn thing.
That's right. So with that introduction, we'll start the slideshow. It's about 3 minutes.
Second monitor. Oh, you know what? I did the whole screen. Okay, hang on a second.
Yeah, I think we're sharing your desktop. Yeah, you show the whole screen. we share stuff.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. 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 הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
Since my tanks have not arrived yet, I'd like to waste a little bit of time. No, I would like to just come a little bit out of order and recognize Rabbi.
So just a couple of quick things. One is, you've all this technology. It's difficult to call out specific people you all know because I'm invariably going to leave somebody out, but I'm only calling out a couple of people. So I'm going to leave a lot of people out. All this technology that we see and all these things, I felt I never felt alone, but it was very lonely for most of the pandemic because I was doing all this on my own and I was with wires and cameras and everything. And so, 3 screens or whatever. And so I'm really, really grateful, more than you can imagine. And this is no small feat. I was talking with a friend of mine about what from college we use in our everyday professional life these days. And he said, I don't use anything. And I said, well, I didn't either until the pandemic hit. And then all of a sudden my TV producing degree came into play. I feel like I'm producing a TV show every Friday night and Saturday morning and Wednesday morning. Anyway, so Mark and Cheryl and everyone who has been involved in technology, thank you so much. This is really just more amazing than anyone can realize. And like I said, I never felt alone because I was connected to people, but it was very lonely because I'm moving things around and trying to, make it all happen. And it was tough. But so I'm glad to have people back with me in the building. In terms of running things in general, Cindy has this very challenging position of having two jobs, really two jobs. She's the manager of the office, and she's also my executive assistant. And those are two positions that come together and often overlap, and it's just really amazing. So I am very grateful to Cindy for all that she does for me and for all of you and for us collectively, and how she figures out how to get it all done. It's amazing, really amazing. When John Edelman was president, he and I went to a workshop sponsored by the Federation for rabbi president teams, and there were several congregations who sent pairs, and we were there. And the person facilitating the event said, I hear from temple presidents all the time, the rabbi's so set in his ways. He's not interested in change. He's not willing to be flexible. There's and then he said, but I also hear from rabbis every 2 years, there's a new president with a new agenda and a new direction. And how come nothing's ever the same? And you can't get any continuity. And boy, Matt Shapiro changed all that when he stayed for a third year. And that was like, who stays for a third year? Oh my gosh. And now all of a sudden we've got a new record setter staying for a fourth year. And I got to tell you, boy, what anyone who steps up and takes on responsibility in this congregation, in any congregation, really needs to be recognized and appreciated. And interestingly enough, when it comes to Steve and Wendy, they're each doing more than what they originally bargained for, because Wendy came into this position before even being elected. And she took on the last half of another term and then stayed on in that position. So Wendy, thank you, and Steve for staying on as well. Thank you. I couldn't have better partners. So thank you very much. And thanks to all of you for being such an amazing collective congregation. It's really an honor for me to be partnered with you.
Well, I am pleased to announce for the votes that, and thank you to everybody who voted online, in person, mail-in ballots. Your voice has been heard and it matters. So thank you for everybody who voted. The board has been approved. So congratulations to all our board members, and thank you for your service to our congregation, and the budget has been adopted. So thank you.
Thanks, Rabbi, for those very kind words. And feeling is mutual. It's a team effort in a difficult circumstance. So I know, we appreciate that you had that background in the performing arts, and were able to so quickly in a crisis turn that around. And in addition to that, of course, everything else you do every day for the congregation, both from the Bema and in exigent and in good circumstances for everybody. So thank you. With that, I'd be remiss if I also didn't thank Mark. If there wasn't a Mark Hager, I'd have to invent one. And so thank you for doing for doing this, as well as all the services and everything else. And again, as Rabbi pointed out, Without Wendy, I'd be totally lost and more insane than I am. And then just one more thank you before I thank everybody for being here and wish everyone a good night is our secretary, Jessica McBrearty, who puts up with a lot every month, May at the meetings, and then the catastrophe of getting people to spend 40 seconds to vote, tonight so that we could get a result. So thank you, Jessica. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We're adjourned.